Thanks, Meg. So just a little brief overview of what's going to happen. I'm going to be moderating the session. Meg is going to be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions or concerns, you can chat her privately, or, if you have a question and you don't want to forget it until the Q&A part, you can just pop it in the chat and we'll get to it when we can. The agenda is in the chat at the very top if you want to take a look at that. I guess we should do some introductions. I think the easiest way would to just be go down the speaking order, and I can call out everybody who is here today to talk. So let's begin with our program committee, Liz and Vin, if they're here. If you guys just want to briefly introduce yourselves, and then we'll go on to John, and then I'll call out the caucus reps.
Hi, I'm Liz Navarra. I work at the Library of Congress, and I'm the co-chair, one of the co-chairs of the program committee.
Hey folks, I'm Vin Navarra. I also work at the Library of Congress, and I'm the other program committee co-chair.
John.
Hi, everybody. I'm John Zarillo. I'm an archivist at Georgetown University, and I'm the co-chair for the Virtual Arrangements Committee. And my co-chair is Deb Schiff. She couldn't be here today, but I'm here in her stead.
Thanks. Moving on to our caucus reps, Diane.
Hi, everybody. I'm Diane Bockrath. I am an archivist here at the Hagley Museum and Library in beautiful Wilmington, Delaware, and I'm the Delaware caucus rep.
Anne. Is Anne here? Anne might not be here yet. That's okay. She is the DC caucus rep. Mark?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mark Holborn, and I am the preservation librarian at the University of Maryland, and I am the Maryland caucus rep.
Thanks. Tara?
Hi, everyone. I'm Tara Maharjan. I am the processing archivist for Rutgers Special Collections and University Archives, and I'm the New Jersey caucus rep.
Thank you. You already know Meg. Dave?
Hi, everyone. I'm David Grinnell, and I'm at the University of Pittsburgh's Archives and Special Collections Department as the coordinator for manuscripts and archives collections. I'm also the Pennsylvania caucus chair. Great to have you all here with us today.
Thank you, Dave. Looks like Anne might be skipping today, so we'll just move on. Lori?
Hi, I'm Lori Hospitler, and I'm the Assistant Director at the West Virginia Regional History Center, the Archives and Special Collections at West Virginia University Libraries, and I am the West Virginia caucus rep.
Thanks, Lori. So some housekeeping before we continue. I'm sure you all are aware of Zoom etiquette. Make sure you guys are muted unless you're speaking. There will be a Q&A at the end of the caucus reps portion of this info session. So you can either save your questions for then to see if they get answered, or you can just pop them in the chat and we'll save them for later. We did have some from the registration forms that we'll hopefully be answering as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our program committee. Can you guys tell us a little bit about this virtual conference that we're going to be having in a few weeks?
We sure can. Thanks, Amanda. Liz and I are thrilled that we were able to offer the program that we created last year, especially this opportunity born of the virtual format that expands the reach of our audience to our colleagues beyond MARAC's borders. We were fortunate that our committee and the presenters returned to this program eager to create something meaningful and timely with a great interest in sharing this with all of you. We were lucky that we only lost one committee member and only 2 sessions from last year. So we're still offering quite a robust program of more than 23 sessions, which is quite a program. And we're pretty proud of that. The theme and resulting sessions were created with specific anniversaries in mind, but the topics have only proven more relevant considering the events since last April, in addition to the pandemic that we're all living through. Consequently, some of the sessions were adapted by the presenters to also reflect the civil and political unrest of the past year, and Liz will tell you more about the sessions in a little bit. However, if people are looking for sessions on archival best practice, there will be at least one such session in each block. And regarding these blocks, Liz and I attempted to create tracks that one can follow through the entire conference if there is a subject or a technical area that you wish to focus on.
Yep, and we also have a rotating schedule, which you notice in the program between morning and afternoons. And we were hoping that will accommodate a variety of work schedules and caregiving needs. So you'll notice that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the conference begins at 12:30 p.m. and then goes to 5:30 p.m. Versus Tuesday and Thursday, the conference begins at 9:30 a.m. and ends at 2:30 p.m. So hopefully you can at least attend, something in that schedule will fit into your life at this point. The theme for the conference is Suffrage Legacies, Civil Rights, Political Activism, and Archives. And in 2020, we marked significant anniversaries in our country of both the 15th and the 19th Amendments to the US Constitution. And many institutions in the MARAC region commemorated or were impacted by these historic anniversaries relating to African American and women's voting rights. So we continued for the 2021 virtual conference. We're so happy that we were able to, resurrect this theme and expand upon it as Ben mentioned, and that it fits in well with current events. And I think you can see the theme clearly interwoven into many of the sessions. There are sessions related to African American voting rights history, sessions about exhibitions that were done in the MARAC region on the 19th Amendment, civil rights struggles, and also, as we mentioned, documenting current activism. For the plenary, we're excited to have Sandra Treadway, the librarian of Virginia, and she's going to be speaking about her work. She's been an archivist and historian for over 40 years, and she's been making connections between women's history and archives, especially in the state of Virginia. So her presentation is going to be Making Invisible Women Visible, Women's History and Women in the Archives from 1970 to 2020.
And we're also really excited that the Friday luncheon speaker is going to be a live broadcast of An Archivist's Tale, the podcast, which was hosted by MARAC members Jeff Huth and Karen Trevette, who will be interviewing Kelly Wooten, reference librarian at the Sally Bingham Center for Women's History and Culture at Duke University. And given Kelly's work on women's and LGBTQ history collections, as well as in curating zines, artist books by women, and materials documenting modern feminist activism, this interview is going to amplify the meeting's themes. And we're really excited to hear that. I know that it will be highly entertaining. In closing, we hope that the efforts of MARAC's leadership to make this conference as affordable as possible, or to create opportunities to support our colleagues in less fortunate circumstances born of recent events, will ensure that this conference is accessible to anyone who wishes to join us this April. MARAC's commitment to offering an affordable and welcoming organization is in our roots, as is our commitment to educating archivists at any phase of their career. Liz and I believe this program accomplishes just that, and we really look forward to seeing all of you in April. Thank you, folks.
Thank you both. I'm super excited. I was already excited, but now I'm even more excited. And now we'll turn it over to John, who can tell us about the virtual arrangements.
Yeah, and I too would like to thank Liz and Ben for putting together just a spectacular program that's going to be really engaging. And we've been holding practice sessions. I've kind of getting glimpses of what these sessions are going to look like, and they all look great. So looking forward to that. So this is MARAC's first virtual conference, as I'm sure you're all well aware. And it's been definitely a learning experience, but from the beginning, Deb and I, we've been trying to maintain the feel of a typical MARAC conference that we all know and love, while at the same time taking advantage of the flexibility of a virtual conference. Again, as the program chairs mentioned, it'll be spread across 5 days with the alternating schedule. It's also an opportunity for those who can't typically travel to a MARAC conference to attend. And it's an opportunity for presenters to reach a wider audience than usual, people who live outside the region. Some have been signing up. So people who you wouldn't normally be able to reach, you're going to be able to get to those people. And also the greatly reduced registration fees. If you haven't registered yet, you will find that you can sponsor another member to attend. And many of our members have been taking advantage of that. It's been really fantastic that people are being so generous. And if there's any funds left over from that, they'll go towards future scholarships for MARAC conferences. So that's great. The sessions are going to be held in the Zoom webinar format. There'll be pretty standard webinars. There's going to be a Q&A session at the end of every talk, just like usual. So we'll be collecting questions throughout the talk, and then the moderator will relay those to the panelists to respond to. We're including many of the traditional events of the MARAC conference. So there's going to be the new member orientation, the plenary, the business meeting, the caucus meetings, obviously. The poster sessions are going to be, they're going to live virtually on YouTube. It's going to be asynchronous so that you can access those poster sessions at any time. And we also are going to have a discussion sessions kind of in the middle of the conference schedule. And we're currently looking for some volunteers who are interested in facilitating those conversations. It's going to be very informal. It'll be something like this. It won't be a webinar. It'll be a group meeting where anybody can contribute. So if there is a topic that you'd like to discuss, or you're interested in being a discussion leader, there's a form that you should see in the chat, and I'll post it again just in case you arrived late. You can fill that out and we will be reaching out to you very soon. And so how's the conference going to work? Just so people know how to get to the sessions that they're interested in seeing. Each day you're going to receive an email in the morning with links to each Zoom session. So we think that's going to be a really easy way for everyone that's registered to access the session or event that you're interested in. And additionally, we're taking advantage of Sketch, which is an online scheduling platform that's available both on your web browser, but also as an app. And if you registered for the conference, you should have received an invitation to register yesterday. And with that, it's going to have all the information on everything that's going on at the conference. It's going to have links to every single Zoom session, so you'll know where to go if, to find what you're looking for. It allows you to create a virtual schedule for yourself. If you want to mark what sessions you're interested in seeing, you can kind of bookmark those. You can see who else is attending those sessions. But if you are concerned about privacy, you could also hide your profile. So not everybody has to see that you are an attendee or anything like that. So if you are concerned about privacy, there's that option as well. Let's see. And for accessibility purposes, all of our sessions are going to include the live transcription. So you're going to see kind of subtitles popping up on your screen as people are speaking. They're not 100% perfect because they are computer generated, but they do a pretty great job actually of getting everything except for proper names. That they're not going to get those, but everything else is great. And again, if those are disrupting your viewing, you can turn those off. They're optional, but we're automatically turning them on for everybody just in case. So that's pretty much it for virtual arrangements, unless there's any other questions you think are relevant at this time, Amanda.
I think you covered everything pretty well. We did have a question from the registration, which was just what exactly are the fees for registration and workshops? I know they're minimal, but.
It should be $5 to register for the conference. There are no workshops for the spring. Our virtual tours are free though. They will be included. They're half-hour tours, one each day. And they're in a variety of formats. Some of those are going to be live presentations. Some of those are going to be video. We offer some flexibility there. So just $5.
Yay. I know that steering was really happy about that decision. So I think that's it for arrangements. So now we can go to our caucus reps, and we're just going to go one by one and talk about which sessions or activities we're really excited about. So we'll start with Diane.
Thanks, Amanda. And thanks for the chance to get to share some things about the conference that we're excited about, and we hope others will get excited about as well. So I am excited about the virtual tours that John just mentioned. One of my favorite parts of a MARAC conference in general is the tours, because I think it's so valuable to go see what other people are doing, see their spaces, see what they're up to, get an understanding for what their shops are like. So we can't quite do that in the same way this year. But so big applause for anybody who's doing a virtual tour and has managed to put it together to still give us a sneak peek to what they're working on and what their collections are like. So in particular, I'm really excited about the equality in the workforce behind the scenes at the IBM Corporate Archives, which is going to be Monday, April 12th from 3:30 to 4. And it speaks to me because here at Hagley, we also do business history, but we're really interested in the intersection between business history and culture and society, and greater themes than just how business is operated. And that's what is really coming out in this tour. So just to quote from the description, we're going to talk, the tour will show off highlights from the collection and showcase aspects of IBM's commitment to diversity, inclusion, and equity initiatives in the workplace, which is certainly very timely. And so business records, I think, often seem kind of opaque, but when you really get into them, you can pull out these strands of really interesting narratives and compelling stories. So I'm excited to see what we're going to learn about IBM. And also, I really want to geek out over those typewriters.
We all love a good typewriter. So Anne isn't here, but she was really excited about session 22, restoring the harmony, re-establishing order in archives. Unfortunately, I didn't prepare to fill in for her, but y'all should just go look at that. It looks cool. Mark, you're next.
Hey, everyone. So one of the things I'm super excited about is number S2, which is the recent archival research by graduate students. I think for me personally, in the last conference that I attended, I loved being able to hear what kind of work was being done by recent grad students. I'm always excited to see what they are picking up and putting out, and what kind of ideas are coming out of some of these programs these days, and what ideas that folks who are much younger than I am are coming up with. And this is really super exciting for me. And so this particular talk is going to be part of 3 talks actually, and it's going to be moderated by Joni Floyd of the University of Maryland. The 3 talks that are going to be presented, the first one is by Marissa Ajimana of New York University, and her paper on European traditions, tracing the connection between archiving and dance. And I think this one sounds to me really interesting. I never really thought about putting archival practice and European dance heritage together, but Marissa is going to be talking about the rules between European dance and archival practice, and how they both sort of stem from this European tradition, and how both require a rigid structure and some confining practices. So that one I think is going to be really interesting, just because of this connection. The second talk is going to be by Benjamin Jackson of the University of Maryland, and his paper, Re-examining Collections Through Digital Storytelling. I think this one also is going to be really interesting, because a lot of the materials that Benjamin used were some open source guides that he found. So I think for me, this will be interesting to see. And the third paper is by Max Thorne of Queens College, City University of New York, on civil rights collections in the classroom and archives instruction fellowship. This one also looks really interesting to me because of this integration of archival materials especially civil rights materials into a teaching classroom. So I think this one will be fun. I am going to put a link in the chat if anyone is interested in learning more about these 3 projects. There's a write-up on them on the MARAC blog. So we'll put that in there so you can read all about them right there. Thank you all very much. I look forward to seeing everyone virtually next month.
Thanks, Mark. Tara?
Hi, everyone. So I am very excited to be talking about the virtual poster presentation that John referenced in the beginning. So myself and Melissa Ziobro of Monmouth University worked to create this virtual poster presentation. And I mean, the main question is, how do you have a virtual poster presentation? So what we've asked each presenter to do is to do a 5-minute video with their poster to explain each of their topics. So we have about 15 to 20 participants, which is great. The whole event is going to be asynchronous, so you can watch each of these videos at your own time, and they'll just continue to live on the MARAC YouTube channel. What's even better about it is that each morning when you get your email with that day's links for presentations, the poster presentation will be part of every day's agenda. So you can start watching them, you know, at your own leisure and to make sure that you can see them. But the presentations have been wonderful that I've seen so far, and I can't wait to check out the rest of them. And I can't wait for everyone to see them as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tara. And next we have Meg.
Hi, thank you. So I'm actually going to talk about not one of the sessions, but one of our other events, which is our new member orientation. It's one of the first events of the conference on Monday morning. I know we have a lot of new members on this call. We've got a lot of new members and prospective members signed up for the conference. So I definitely would recommend attending the new member orientation. It's done by our membership committee, and they do a great job of giving you an overview of what MARAC is, what we do, and different ways that you can get involved with MARAC. One of the things that we forgot to mention when we were mentioning registration is, in addition to the $5 for MARAC members, if you are a student or underemployed right now, it is free. There's a box to check on that, so that way you do not have to pay. We're really encouraging student participation. We'd love you guys to get more involved with MARAC. So make sure you click that when you're registering if you're a student or if you're underemployed at the moment. But definitely I recommend the new member orientation. Not only does it give you a great overview of MARAC, but it gives you a chance to meet your steering committee members, your caucus reps, and also just network with other people who are new to the organization so that you know you're not alone. It's a little different, obviously, being virtual than being in person. But it's a great way to start meeting people, connecting faces and names. So I highly recommend it, and I really look forward to seeing you guys all next month. Yeah, 3 weeks.
Thanks, Meg. Dave, you're next.
Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us today. The session I want to highlight here is session number 3, Urban Activism and Archives. We're going to have 3 presenters: Chris Anglum from the University of the District of Columbia, John Klaczynski from the University of Pittsburgh, my home institution, and Elizabeth Parker from Cornell University. You know, I really am excited about this topic, and I can't imagine a more timely presentations to have about urban activism and archives. Thinking about our theme that Vin talked about in terms of suffrage, thinking about suffrage as a movement, we often think about it historically as sort of a monolithic kind of movement, but in reality, it was not. It was very segmented and very fragmented in many ways, and many different competing interest groups. And so one of the things that I think about in terms of the comparison with suffrage is the fact that the suffrage movement has such amazing links to other movements such as the anti-slavery movement and the temperance movement. And so it really shows you how political and social movements really intersect with each other. And I can't think of something that is so appropriate for us to think about today as we've witnessed the rise in political activism and social movements such as Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movement, and of course, the transgendered rights movements as well. These are all very important movements to us today. And so many of us sit in sort of academic institutions that, we're confronted with it with our students and with our faculty on a continuing basis. And as an archivist who identifies himself as a gay person, I not only recognize that that these are important issues that we need to be presenting, but also the fact that I feel it. I feel the importance of these issues on a daily basis. And so one of the things our session will explore is activism on university campuses, specifically our nation's capital. So we'll see evidence of how activism, student and faculty activism, reflects the policy and direction that maybe our educational institutions have effect on. Then, of course, we want to look a little bit more as well towards some grassroots activism, particularly thinking about how industrial America gave birth to movements in communities like around environmentalism. And thinking about environmentalism, it's at all levels of those activities are at all levels. They're at local neighborhood levels, city levels, state and federal levels, influencing national policy. And of course, one of the things that's important in terms of environmental action right now is asking ourselves something about, in the 50 or so years that the environmental movement has been around in the US, has it been successful? We're still fighting a lot of those fights. How's that vigilant role interacting with other activist groups, and also thinking about the watchdogs in our midst and the importance of those watchdog people and organizations. Now, likewise, we're also very interested in working conditions. And again, in industrial America, we gave birth to an incredible labor activism. And so and of course, the labor movement gave birth to things like the 40-hour work week, health insurance benefits, and so much more. But we also know that union membership is declining in America. So what's the future of labor unions and labor activism? We know that today, the service institutes, the service field, particularly those in healthcare, those in the academic environments, all of those organizations now, all of those groups are really having some effect in urban labor activism. So I think that there's going to be some really vital sort of stories that we all can connect with in our session. So I invite you to please come to our session, which is session number 3, which is Monday, April 12th from 4 to 5:30. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Wow, thank you, Dave. I don't know if I can follow that up. That sounds really awesome. Well, I'm next. So the session that I'd like to talk about is my own, so I'm a little biased. It's session 17, One Step Back, Two Steps Forward, Approaches to Reprocessing for Access and Digital Assets, which is on Thursday, April 15th at 10:30 a.m. I'm really excited about this session, not just because I'm speaking in it, but I'm always excited about reprocessing as a topic. I think it is something that I am continually faced with, not just in my job, but anytime I talk with other archivists or archives workers about it, it inevitably always comes up in some fashion. But there doesn't seem to be that much like official discourse about it. You know, I'd really love for a reprocessing course to be taught in library school or something like that. So concepts to be addressed in this session include learning to process or reprocess previously created artificial collections with poor description, tackling legacy practices and creating reprocessing workflows, and thinking about reprocessing in the age of born digital and digitized collections. And it will be myself and 4 other panelists speaking on this. So, you know, if you want to come and get riled up about reprocessing, come to this session. I am in competition for your time with the session that Lori's talking about, which I'm sure is equally as good. So I'll pass it off to Lori.
Thank you, Amanda. I hope that some way we will have access to all of the sessions at some point. And, you know, that is always the problem with conferences, is that, you know, the 2 things you want to go to are always scheduled at the same time. So virtual conferences help with that. So I am really excited about session 16, challenging women's suffrage narratives, and that's at 10:30 on Thursday, April 15th. At my institution, we created a physical exhibit to mark the women's suffrage anniversary, and we also did a small companion exhibit. And you know, trying to incorporate the full story was not easy. There aren't a lot of records of people of color engaged in the suffrage movement in West Virginia that are readily available. But I do believe they're out there, and it required more research than I realized I had time to do. And so I made acknowledgments in the exhibit in a couple of places, but I felt poorly about it because I knew I was only telling part of the story. And so this session really stood out to me. It features 3 presenters: Amanda Burden from Brandywine River Museum of Art, Rachel Guberman from the Schlesinger Library on the History of Women in America, and Fernanda Perrone from Rutgers. And they are going to talk about the suffrage exhibitions at their institutions. And they, you know, there's a range of topics that they'll cover, but at the heart of it is including and highlighting the inequities in the suffrage movement, and how, and so maybe I think talking about some of the challenges that I alluded to, and how it's not always easy the materials aren't always at hand. So the final sentence in the description is: the inequities in the suffrage movement and the challenges of incorporating contributions of women from all walks of life into a more inclusive narrative will be an important focus of this discussion. So although my exhibit is done, I think that this will be a very helpful session for me, and I think a lot of folks who also commemorated last year's suffrage anniversary. So I encourage everybody to check it out. And then the other thing I wanted to say, that this session is moderated by Ashley Corin, who is a former resident librarian at WVU. And so I also wanted to give a shout out to Ashley and support what she's doing. So thanks everyone, and I hope to see you in a month.
Thanks, Lori. Well, that's everybody so far. So now we can move on to our Q&A session. So alternatively, you can, you know, pop a question in the chat, or you can raise your hand if you want to speak. It's up to you. We can start off with a question that was asked in the registration, which was about caucus meetings and what those look like, what's usually covered in them. Can new members join in on their state's caucus meetings? Would any caucus members like to illuminate?
I can get started just with basically what we've done, at least in the New York caucus before. It's just a chance to kind of meet everybody from the caucus. So we do some introductions, we go around. I go over usually some updates from the steering committee. We usually have our steering committee meeting the week before. So usually at our caucus meetings, we'll do a little bit of updates from the steering committee, and then we give a chance for everybody to give any updates that they have, anything going on with their institution or any regional organizations that they're involved with in the state. But we keep it pretty casual. So it sometimes can be pretty short, sometimes can be longer. And new members are definitely welcome if you're signed up for the conference, but you've never been to a caucus meeting. You haven't officially joined any of the caucuses, absolutely feel free to show up. We'd love to have you there. And we definitely encourage you to join the e-lists as well. And so you can get all the other caucus news as it's coming up. But if any of the other caucus reps have anything else that they talk about or anything they want to add in, feel free.
Sure, Meg. I'll just say you're right on. This is a really great opportunity for caucus members to share across our institutions what's going on, and that's really the highlight of most of our caucus meetings for the Pennsylvania caucus, is really seeing and hearing about what everybody else is doing. And we absolutely invite new members to come to these, because this is one of the ways in which new members can see some of the faces and put those names and faces together. And so please do come to the caucus meeting. It's a really important time to spend with people from your state. Thanks.
I 100% agree. Valerie, do you have a question?
No, I don't have a question, but just hearkening back to when I was brand new and hearing this term caucus, and even though Meg and Dave did make the point, I want to reiterate to new folks that when we talk about being, are you a member of this caucus? Are you a caucus member? That tends to make it sound like it's not just, do you live in this state? Do you live and work in this state? You don't have to register. It's just a state meeting. When you use the word caucus, it may make people think that it's really something you've got to join.
Yeah, there is a little bit of an intimidation factor, which I myself felt at one point. So yeah, I would also like to stress that it really is just a group of your peers from your state at other, who identify as archivists. I would say that it can be really worthwhile to join other caucus/state groups as well, especially if you're like me, you live in the DC area where DC, Maryland, and Virginia kind of smush together. Or if you live in Pennsylvania and you're really close to New Jersey, it might be worth to join, either one of those caucuses. But yeah, you're totally right, Valerie. It is just a group of folks from this particular area. No need to be intimidated. And I will also stress that anytime you have a question or a concern, you can contact your caucus rep or another caucus rep if you want to talk to them about something. It's totally open. Please do not be intimidated. I don't see any questions coming into the chat. I hope that means that we've done a good job of covering things. John did write that most of the sessions are going to be recorded. So that kind of solves the issue of, if you have two sessions happening at the same time and you want to attend both. So is there anything? Oh,
and if anybody also has any questions that you come up with after the event, you can feel free to reach out to Amanda or I, and we can put you in touch with committee members or members of steering or whomever can answer your questions. So if you don't have a question right now, but you think of it later, do feel free to reach out to us. We're here. But Sarah Predmore just also added to the chat that any questions about your membership benefits or how to access your profile or to join a caucus e-list, you can also feel free to contact her at administrator@marac.info. And Sarah is awesome. She is super responsive. So any questions you have, she'll definitely be a great assistance for that. So.
Is there a link for MARAC's YouTube channel? Yes, there should be.
It will be coming when we have the, it's in the program, but don't look yet because we're still adding more videos. So don't jump the gun yet. We'll share everything once it's all ready.
Thanks, Tara. Mark just wrote, the Maryland and the DC caucus will be meeting together. If you live or work in either area, please feel free to join us. We are looking forward to seeing everyone. Virginia's meeting separate, I guess, but you should feel free to attend whatever you want. I think I might even attend the Maryland and the DC caucus meeting. Oops, anybody else? I know you were looking for discussion leads. Is there interest in virtual tours? I can do one of a Native American museum I work with.
Right.
So Tavia, I think the person to contact would be John, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say our virtual tour, the schedule's filled, but definitely reach out to us just in case, something falls through. Shoot us an email and we can talk about it. I can put my email in the chat.
Thank you. And looks like Mary has her hand up.
Am I coming on? There we go. Hi, I don't have a question, but I just want everyone to know the very exciting news that we have at this point in time, 435 people registered for our virtual conference. So it's going to be a major MARAC event, and I'm so thankful to all of you who've been working on it. But I just want everyone to know the big news, because whoever thought 435, and there's still weeks to come. So if you know anyone who isn't registered yet, let's see if we can break 500. So thank you.
That's fantastic. Wow. Okay. Well, if that's it, then we might be finished with the official portion of this. So if you don't want to do bingo, leave now, I guess.